When someone you love walks away, your heart doesn't just break. It questions everything. You wonder if you weren't enough, if you should have said more or held on tighter. But Marcus Aurelius would remind you, when you rise in the morning, tell yourself, "Today I will meet people who are ungrateful, selfish, and unkind, yet none of them can harm my soul unless I allow it." Love hurts most when we attach our peace to another person's presence. The Stoic way is not to become cold, but to become grounded, unshaken by what leaves, and grateful for what remains. You can love deeply and still let go gracefully, because real strength is not holding tighter. It's staying rooted when everything around you tries to uproot your peace. So when someone you love walks away, don't chase, don't beg, don't collapse. Breathe, stand tall, and remember, a calm mind cannot be abandoned. It remains whole, even in loss. 1. Feel the pain, but don't become it. A Stoic never runs away from emotions. They learn to understand them deeply and rise above them. When someone you love walks away, it can feel as if the ground beneath you disappears. Your chest feels heavy, your thoughts race, and your heart keeps replaying moments that will never return. You may find yourself asking endless questions. Why did they leave? What could I have done differently? Was I not enough? This inner chaos is natural, but Marcus Aurelius reminds us that pain itself is not the enemy. It's our attachment to it that causes suffering. The Stoic approach is not about pretending that the pain doesn't exist. It's about observing it without letting it take over who you are. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. The rain pours, the wind howls, but deep in the earth your roots hold strong. That's what emotional mastery means, to let your feelings move through you like weather without uprooting the foundation of your peace. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. The heartbreak, the absence, the silence, all of that is outside your control. But how you interpret it, how you respond, and how you rebuild, that belongs entirely to you. So when the storm of heartbreak hits, don't suppress the pain. Sit with it, acknowledge it, feel it fully, because denying emotion only buries it deeper. But the key is, don't become the emotion. Let the tears come when they need to, but let them flow without letting them define you. Picture yourself as a great tree standing tall in a forest. Your emotions are like passing storms. They come, they rage, and then they fade. You are not the storm. You are the tree. Your roots, your principles, your self-respect, your values are planted in reason, virtue, and wisdom. No matter how fierce the weather becomes, the tree remains. To feel deeply is to be human, but to rise above the chaos within that feeling, that is to be wise. You can cry and still be calm. You can hurt and still be strong. You can lose and still keep your dignity. The Stoic understands that emotions are temporary visitors. They are not meant to build permanent homes in your mind. When your loved one walks away, don't drown in the story of loss. Don't label yourself as broken. The person who left may have taken their presence, but they can never take your essence. The same strength that once loved deeply can now be turned inward, toward healing, self-mastery, and growth. Every heartbreak is a reminder that nothing external is truly yours, not people, not circumstances, not even moments. Everything you experience is borrowed from the flow of life. So rather than resisting what has already happened, learn to flow with it. The Stoics call this amor fati, the love of fate, to accept what life gives and to still love it because it shapes who you are becoming. So when someone you love walks away, do not crumble. Let the pain wash over you, cleanse you, and leave behind a clearer version of yourself. Your roots must stay deep in truth, your heart steady in understanding, and your mind anchored in peace. Because the real strength is not in avoiding pain, it's in allowing it to pass through you without turning you into it. 2. Detach without bitterness. Detachment in Stoicism doesn't mean becoming cold, emotionless, or distant from love. It means understanding that love, like everything else in life, is borrowed, not owned. When someone you love walks away, your natural instinct is to hold on. You want to explain, fix, convince, or chase. You keep hoping that maybe if you say the right thing or show how much you care, they'll come back. But Stoic wisdom teaches the opposite. The more tightly you grip something that wants to leave, the more you suffer. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love." Notice that he doesn't say to be loved, but to love. Because love is an action, not a possession. You cannot control whether someone stays, but you can control whether you love them with grace, even in their absence. Detachment, then, is not the death of love. It's the purification of it. It's loving without expectation, without ownership, without bitterness. When a person you love decides to leave, the first reaction of the ego is resistance. The ego screams, "How could they do this to me?" It personalizes everything. But a Stoic looks deeper and asks, what does this event reveal about nature, about impermanence, about myself? People are not fixed objects. They are moving souls, guided by desires, fears, and destinies that often have nothing to do with us. To be free, you must release the illusion that others belong to you. Detachment means you still care, but you no longer cling. You still appreciate what was shared, but you no longer demand its return. You still hold gratitude for the love that once was, but you refuse to let it poison your heart with resentment. Letting go is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's recognizing that forcing someone to stay is like holding on to smoke. The tighter you close your hand, the faster it escapes. When you let go with peace, you reclaim your energy. You stop feeding the fire of overthinking, and you allow the natural rhythm of life to unfold. As Epictetus said, when something happens, the only thing in your power is your attitude toward it. You can either accept it or resent it. Choose acceptance. It doesn't mean you agree with the pain. It means you refuse to let that pain rule you. Imagine this. You're standing on the shore, watching a ship sail away. You can cry because it's leaving, or you can smile because it once docked in your harbor. That's what Stoic detachment looks like. A heart strong enough to honor what was, yet wise enough to release it without bitterness. Every ending carries two gifts: clarity and space. Clarity to see what's true, and space to grow into who you're meant to be. If you hold on to resentment, you stay tied to the person who hurt you. You think you're punishing them, but in truth, you're imprisoning yourself. Bitterness is the chain that keeps your soul stuck in the past. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is the sword that cuts that chain. The Stoic forgives not because they condone what happened, but because they refuse to carry the poison any longer. To detach is to rise above the emotional battlefield. It's saying, I can still wish you well, even if you're no longer part of my journey. That is strength. That is maturity. That is the Stoic way. So when someone you love walks away, don't chase their shadow. Let them walk. Let them go where they need to go, and let yourself return to your center. Remember, you are not losing them. You are returning to yourself. And in that return, you find peace. The kind of peace that no departure can ever take away. 3. Control what's yours, release what's not. This is one of the greatest teachings of Stoicism, and perhaps the hardest to practice when the heart is broken. When someone you love walks away, your mind immediately begins to bargain with fate. You replay every word, every memory, every possibility, hoping to find a way to rewrite what happened. You want to control the outcome, to make them stay, to change their mind. But the Stoics remind us that there are only two kinds of things in life, those within our control and those beyond it. Peace begins the moment you understand the difference. Epictetus said, "Some things are up to us, and some are not." It sounds simple, yet in moments of loss, we forget it entirely. We try to control what was never ours, other people's choices, emotions, or destinies. We spend sleepless nights trying to change what's already written. But Marcus Aurelius would tell you that the energy you waste trying to control the uncontrollable is the very energy you need to heal. So what is within your control? Your thoughts, your responses, your actions, your dignity, your moral compass. What's not within your control? The decisions others make, the way they feel, the timing of their departure. Once you understand this separation, the weight on your chest begins to lift, not because the pain disappears, but because you stop fighting reality. When you try to control what's not yours, you give away your power. You become like a puppet pulled by the strings of others' actions. But when you focus only on what's yours, you stand firm again. You stop being a victim of circumstance and start becoming the master of your mind. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Imagine this. Your life is a ship. You control the sails, not the wind. You can't stop storms, but you can adjust your course. The person who left, that's the wind changing direction. You can either curse it or use it to move toward a new horizon. That's Stoic control, flexible, calm, and wise. Many people think peace means controlling everything so that nothing hurts. But Stoic peace is different. It's the serenity that comes when you realize you never had control over external things to begin with. When you love someone, you do your best. You show up, you care, you give. But the outcome is not in your hands. Once you've done what's right, let go of what's beyond you. The Stoics call this dichotomy of control, and it's the foundation of inner freedom. If it's up to you, do it with excellence. If it's not, release it with grace. That's how you keep your soul unshaken. Ask yourself this question whenever pain grips you. Is this within my control? If the answer is no, don't let it rule your peace. Don't let someone else's choice dictate your emotional climate. You are responsible for your inner weather, no one else. Remember this, people will come and go. They will love you one day and walk away the next. But your response, your strength, your attitude, that's yours forever. Don't hand it to anyone. You can't control who stays, but you can control whether their absence breaks you or builds you. In the end, the Stoic doesn't aim to control the world. They aim to control their perception of it. They understand that even heartbreak can serve a higher purpose if faced with wisdom. As Marcus Aurelius said, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. So when someone leaves, instead of collapsing, rise. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of wishing for different circumstances, strengthen your ability to adapt. Control your inner world so deeply that the outer world can no longer shake it. Because in the end, it's not the loss that defines you, it's your response to it. The Stoic learns to say, "I may not control what happens, but I control who I become through it." And that is where true power and true peace begins. 4. Don't let love turn you into a victim. Heartbreak has a strange power. It can make even the strongest person feel small, helpless, and defeated. When someone you love walks away, the human instinct is to search for meaning through pain. You start to believe that you were not enough, that you must have done something wrong, or that life is unfair. You replay everything in your head, every smile, every argument, every silence, until the pain becomes your new identity. But Marcus Aurelius and the Stoic philosophers would tell you this: pain does not make you a victim unless you let it define you. You can suffer, but you must not surrender. Marcus Aurelius faced loss after loss: his children, his friends, his teachers, and even his own sense of safety as an emperor. Yet he wrote in Meditations, "When you have the power to benefit someone, why delay?" He focused not on what was taken from him, but on what still remained within his control: his virtue, his integrity, his strength of spirit. The Stoic knows that life will test you, sometimes through the hands of those you love the most. But no matter what happens, your character is your responsibility. You cannot control who breaks your heart, but you can control whether that heartbreak breaks your soul. When someone you love hurts you, it's easy to turn inward with blame. You tell yourself stories like, "I'll never find someone like them again," or "maybe I deserved this." These are emotional traps, illusions created by the wounded mind. The Stoic sees these thoughts as clouds passing through the sky of consciousness. They are temporary, they are not you. You are the observer behind the clouds, not the storm itself. Being hurt does not make you weak, but allowing that hurt to define your life, to shape your choices, your self-worth, your future, that's what imprisons you. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. The Stoics believed that suffering comes from our interpretation of events, not the events themselves. The heartbreak is real, but the belief that you are forever broken, that's just a thought, and thoughts can be changed. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. This means you can take back your power whenever you decide to stop seeing yourself as a victim. The moment you say, 'This happened for me, not to me,' you step out of the role of the wounded and into the role of the wise. Remember this truth. When someone hurts you, they reveal their character, not yours. Their choices, their words, their actions are reflections of who they are, not what you deserve." The Stoic way is to rise above the emotional reflex and respond from reason. You do not need to prove your worth to those who failed to see it. Their blindness does not diminish your light. Do not chase closure from those who gave you confusion. Do not beg love from those who chose to withdraw it. The Stoic way is quiet, not because it is cold, but because it is grounded. You do not need to fight every injustice. You simply need to protect your peace. You may not be able to control their betrayal, but you can control how long you allow that betrayal to rent space in your mind. Life's pain often disguises its purpose. The person who broke you may have been sent to awaken you. Sometimes people are placed in your life not to stay, but to show you what you must learn. When love leaves, it often takes illusions with it. Illusions about what you need, who you are, and where your peace truly comes from. What you thought was punishment might actually be the path to clarity. Don't let heartbreak make you bitter. Bitterness is a poison you drink, hoping the other person will feel its effect. The Stoic drinks wisdom instead: calmness, reflection, acceptance. You may feel rage, sadness, or despair, but don't let those emotions plant permanent roots. They will pass if you don't feed them with attention. Observe them like a philosopher, not a prisoner. Forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Forgiveness in Stoicism isn't about excusing someone's behavior. It's about freeing your own heart from the chains of resentment. You can't walk forward if you're always looking back. Marcus Aurelius forgave those who betrayed him, not out of weakness, but because he understood that carrying hate would only make him their servant in spirit. You are not a victim of love. You are a student of it. Every heartbreak teaches you to see clearer, to expect less from others and more from yourself, to love without losing your balance. The Stoics saw life as a series of lessons from the universe. Some gentle, some painful, all necessary. When someone walks away, ask yourself, what is this moment trying to teach me about myself? Maybe it's showing you that you gave too much of your peace to someone else's chaos. Maybe it's teaching you that your worth doesn't depend on being chosen, but on choosing yourself. The greatest victory is not winning someone back, it's reclaiming yourself. So don't let love turn you into a victim. Let it turn you into a philosopher. Let it sharpen your awareness, deepen your strength, and remind you that even when everything else leaves, your inner fortress, your rational mind, and your moral strength remain. The Stoic does not seek revenge or validation. They rise silently. They heal inwardly. They smile again, not because the pain is gone, but because they have outgrown it. And that, my friend, is the highest form of triumph. 5. Remember, nothing external can truly harm you. One of the most liberating teachings of Stoicism is this: you cannot be truly harmed by anything outside yourself. Pain, loss, betrayal, rejection, these things can shake you, but they cannot destroy you unless you give them permission to enter your inner world. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." At first, those words might sound cold or unrealistic. How can you not feel harmed when someone you love walks away? When the person you trusted the most turns away from you? Doesn't that wound cut deep? It does. But Marcus was not saying that you should feel nothing. He was teaching you that your peace doesn't depend on what happens, but on how you interpret what happens. When love ends, it often feels like the world ends with it. You wake up in the same bed, but everything feels heavier. Every corner of your home reminds you of the one who's gone. The silence feels like a punishment, and your thoughts become a battlefield. Yet if you look closely, you'll notice something profound. The pain isn't coming from the event itself. It's coming from your resistance to the event. You suffer not because they left, but because you keep wishing they hadn't. The Stoics understood that reality itself is neutral. It's our mind that paints it as tragedy or peace. Imagine this. You're standing in front of a mirror. The mirror reflects whatever stands before it: joy, sadness, loss, or love. But the mirror itself is never altered. You are that mirror. The reflections in your life will change. People will come and go. Circumstances will rise and fall. But your core, your inner nature, remains untouched. The Stoic path is about strengthening that core so deeply that no external event can disturb it. Marcus Aurelius spent his life surrounded by betrayal, illness, political corruption, and the constant threat of death, yet his writings radiate peace. Why? Because he learned to build his peace within himself, not upon the unstable foundation of people or possessions. He saw clearly that external things, relationships, wealth, success, are borrowed gifts. They can be taken away at any time. So the wise person does not anchor their happiness in them. They enjoy them, they honor them, but they don't depend on them. The moment you understand that your peace cannot be taken by another person, you stop living as a hostage to their presence. You stop giving away the keys to your inner kingdom. No matter what happens outside you, the world cannot touch your reason, your virtue, or your will unless you surrender them. And that is the heart of Stoic freedom. When someone you love hurts you, your first instinct may be to see yourself as a victim of their actions. You think, they ruined my peace. They broke my heart. But the Stoics remind you, they cannot break your heart unless you hand it to them completely. Pain is inevitable. Participation in suffering is optional. You may grieve their absence, but you can still choose not to let it destroy your spirit. That choice, silent, internal, steady, is where your power lies. You are not defined by what you lose. You are defined by what remains unshaken within you. Marcus Aurelius said, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. Every relationship, every joy and every sorrow is temporary. like waves on the surface of the sea. But beneath those waves lies the still ocean floor. That is your inner being. Nothing external can reach that depth unless you invite it in. When someone walks away, it feels personal, but from the Stoic view, it's just nature unfolding. People change, emotions fade, paths diverge. The Stoic does not curse the river for flowing. They learn to flow with it. They see every departure not as punishment, but as movement, a shift in the pattern of fate that is beyond their judgment. The wise person says, "This too is part of the order of things. Let me meet it with grace." To remember that nothing external can harm you is to reclaim your self-mastery. It is to remind yourself that even if the entire world turns away, your peace remains yours. If you base your happiness on external things, on people, on success, on validation, you'll always live at the mercy of circumstances. But if you base it on virtue, discipline, and clarity of thought, then no event, no person, no loss can truly shake you. There's a story from Epictetus, another great Stoic teacher. He was once a slave, beaten and insulted by his master, yet he said calmly, "You may chain my leg, but not my will." That is the essence of inner freedom, to know that your spirit, your judgment, your peace belong to you alone. No rejection can imprison you unless you decide to stay inside the cage. So when you lose someone you love, remind yourself, your peace is not in their hands. It never was. Their leaving cannot diminish your worth. Their silence cannot erase your light. The world can take away comfort, but it cannot touch your courage. It can take away people, but it cannot take away your principles. The Stoic learns to stand firm like a mountain, unmoved by the winds of fortune, unbroken by the storms of loss. Yes, you will feel pain because you are human, but you can remain unharmed because you are more than human emotions. You are reason, virtue, and awareness, the same elements that shape the stars. When you live by these, you no longer fear loss because you no longer depend on what can be lost. In the end, what truly harms you is not what happens to you, but what you allow to take root in your heart. So guard your inner fortress, strengthen it with truth, patience, and acceptance. The world can shake your body, but it can never shake your soul, unless you open the gates yourself. The Stoic does not seek a life free of pain. They seek a mind free of disturbance. That is where unshakable peace is found. And once you realize that, you understand what Marcus Aurelius meant when he said, "No man is happy who does not think himself so." The power is not in what happens, it's in what you choose to make of it. So the next time someone walks away, don't crumble. Smile gently and remind yourself, I am still whole, I am still here, and no one can take that from me. 6. Transform loss into purpose. When someone you love walks away, it can feel as though life has taken something sacred from you. The person who once gave meaning to your days suddenly becomes a memory you have to learn to live with. The emptiness left behind feels unbearable, like a wound that refuses to close. But the Stoics believed that within every wound lies the seed of wisdom. Pain is not the enemy, it is the messenger. And if you listen closely, it is always trying to teach you something profound about yourself. Marcus Aurelius faced immense personal losses, children, friends, and loyal allies. Yet his writings in Meditations are not filled with bitterness or despair. They are filled with acceptance and transformation. He wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." The obstacle is not there to destroy you, it's there to awaken you. Heartbreak in Stoic philosophy is not an end. It's an invitation to rebuild, to grow, to rediscover strength you forgot you had. Transforming loss into purpose doesn't mean ignoring the pain. It means allowing the pain to refine you instead of define you. The fire that burns you can also purify you if you stand in it with awareness. The Stoics believed in amor fati, the love of fate. To not only accept what happens, but to embrace it as something necessary for your evolution. It is the belief that life, in all its complexity, gives you exactly what you need, even when it takes away what you want. When someone walks out of your life, your instinct might be to shut down, to protect yourself from ever feeling such pain again. But shutting down the heart also blocks your growth. The Stoic way is not to close the heart, but to deepen it. Every loss can make you softer, wiser, and more compassionate, if you let it. You begin to see that love was never just about one person. Love is a mirror that shows you what you're capable of giving. And now, that same love can be redirected towards something greater, your purpose. Ask yourself, what is this loss teaching me? Maybe it's teaching you to stop depending on others for validation. Maybe it's showing you the importance of boundaries. Maybe it's teaching you that self-love is not arrogance, but survival. Or perhaps it's pushing you toward a path that your comfort once kept you from walking. The Stoic sees meaning even in heartbreak, because they know that nature wastes nothing, not even pain. Marcus Aurelius once reflected that every misfortune is an opportunity to practice a virtue. If you lose someone, it's a chance to practice patience, resilience, forgiveness, and self-discipline. If your heart is broken, it's a chance to practice courage and compassion. The Stoic transforms every loss into a lesson, and every lesson into strength. That's how pain becomes purpose, through conscious choice. You can choose to let the departure of someone you loved harden you, or you can let it open you. You can choose to resent what happened, or you can choose to rise from it. Transformation begins the moment you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "How can I use this to become better?" That's the difference between suffering and growth. Imagine your life as a garden. When love ends, it's as though winter has arrived. The flowers die, the color fades, and the ground seems barren. But the Stoic understands that winter is not the end. It's preparation. It's rest. Beneath the frozen soil, new roots are forming, stronger, deeper, ready to bloom again. Your heart is no different. Loss is the season that prepares your soul for renewal. Sometimes pain redirects you toward your purpose. Many of history's greatest minds, philosophers, artists, thinkers, found their calling through heartbreak or loss. They channeled their suffering into creation, into truth, into something larger than themselves. You too can turn your pain into power. Write, create, meditate, serve, teach, heal. Do something that transforms your suffering into light. That's the Stoic way of honoring pain, by refusing to waste it. The Stoics often spoke of living according to nature, which means aligning yourself with reality rather than resisting it. When you fight what's already happened, you create more suffering. But when you accept it, you begin to see its place in the larger order of things. What if this loss was not meant to destroy you, but to realign you? What if life was pruning away what no longer served your highest self? Just as a sculptor chisels away stone to reveal beauty, life removes what's unnecessary to reveal your strength. Every heartbreak carries a hidden gift. It forces you to meet yourself, to sit in silence with your soul and ask, "Who am I without them?" And in that question, you rediscover something divine, that your worth, your peace, your purpose never depended on another person's presence. It always lived within you. So transform your pain into purpose by using it as fuel for your growth. If you were loyal, let that loyalty now serve your dreams. If you were patient, let that patience now help you master your mind. If you loved deeply, let that love now nourish the world through your actions. The energy you once gave to someone who left can now be invested into someone who will never leave, yourself. Marcus Aurelius taught that the universe is constantly changing and that we must flow with it, not against it. The person who left you was part of that flow. Their chapter in your story was complete. But your story continues. It continues with more depth, more wisdom, and more peace, if you choose to make it so. One day, you'll look back at this heartbreak and realize that it didn't break you. It built you. It made you aware of your own strength. It stripped away illusions, purified your intentions, and opened your eyes to the kind of love that doesn't come and go, the love rooted in wisdom, truth, and self-respect. Transform your loss into purpose by letting it remind you. You were never dependent on anything external for your completeness. The people who leave do not take your light. They only reveal how brightly it still shines on its own. The Stoic doesn't ask for a painless life. They ask for a purposeful one. And when you see your pain as part of your path, every heartbreak becomes a stepping stone toward a stronger, wiser, more awakened version of you. 7. Stay rooted in the present moment. When someone you love walks away, your mind becomes a time traveler. It drifts endlessly between the past and the future, replaying old moments that can't be changed and imagining new ones that will never happen. You replay the first conversation, the last goodbye, every word in between. Then you wonder, will they come back? Or, what if I never feel this way again? This is how the mind traps itself in a world that no longer exists. But Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor, reminded us again and again, confine yourself to the present, because the present moment is the only place where peace is possible. When love ends, the greatest suffering doesn't come from the event itself. It comes from your mind's refusal to stay where you are. You are here, but your thoughts are still holding hands with the past. You are breathing now, but your emotions are living in memories. The Stoic way teaches that you can only suffer in two times, the past and the future. The past tortures you with what was, and the future frightens you with what might be. But right here in this single breath, there is peace. There is no heartbreak in the present, only sensation, no despair, only awareness. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Give yourself a gift, the present moment. Because when your mind is anchored in the now, you see life as it is, not as your memories or expectations paint it. You begin to see that the pain that once felt unbearable is actually just a wave moving through your consciousness. It rises, peaks, and fades. Every emotion, no matter how heavy, is temporary. It loses its power the moment you stop feeding it with thoughts." The Stoics saw the present as sacred because it is the only thing truly yours. You can't relive yesterday, and tomorrow is not promised. All you ever have is this breath, this step, this heartbeat. When you stay rooted in the now, you stop bleeding energy into time that no longer serves you. The person who left is gone in the physical world, but they only continue to hurt you when you carry them into the present moment through your thoughts. By staying here, fully here, you break that invisible chain. It takes courage to live in the present after heartbreak. The mind will resist. It will try to pull you back to the comfort of old memories because even pain can feel safer than emptiness. You must learn to gently guide your mind back every time it wanders. When it drifts to the past, remind it that time is over and it served its purpose. When it drifts to the future, remind it that time has not come yet and it may never come. Bring yourself back, not through force but through awareness. Breathe, observe, be still. In Stoic practice, this is called mindful acceptance, the ability to witness life without judgment, without labeling events as good or bad. Marcus Aurelius practiced it during war, grief, and illness. He understood that peace is not the absence of difficulty, but the mastery of focus. He taught that the present moment is where the mind finds its power, because it is the only moment that truly exists. When you are rooted in the now, even heartbreak begins to look different. You see that the pain you feel is not constant. It comes in waves. 1 hour it crushes you, the next you feel lighter. One morning you wake up missing them. By evening you realize you laughed without thinking of them. This is how healing happens, quietly, slowly, through your presence. If you stay here long enough, life begins to move again. The same way nature reclaims a burned forest, your soul starts to bloom again in silence. Don't let your mind turn your memories into prisons. You cannot return to the moment they said they loved you. You cannot undo the moment they walked away. But you can choose this moment, this one, to be free, to stand tall in your own being and say, I am still here, I am still breathing, I am still enough. When Marcus Aurelius wrote about life, he often compared it to a river. He said everything is constantly flowing, and to resist that flow is to suffer. The person you loved was part of that current. Their journey merged with yours for a time and then continued elsewhere. To stay rooted in the present is to flow with life, not against it. You cannot stop the river, but you can learn to swim in it peacefully. Practice gratitude for the smallest things, for the morning light touching your face, for the breath that still moves through your lungs, for the fact that you are learning to endure. Each moment of awareness is an act of healing. Each time you bring your focus back to now, you reclaim a piece of your power, because the truth is, no one truly leaves you when you live in the present. The lessons they gave, the love they inspired, the growth they triggered, all of it remains part of who you are now. When you stay rooted in the present, the mind stops asking why and starts accepting what is. And in that acceptance, something miraculous happens. Clarity returns. You begin to see that the loss you mourned was actually making space for something deeper, a more peaceful version of yourself. The more you live in this moment, the less control the past has over you. You start to notice beauty again, the sound of rain, the stillness of night, the softness of air on your skin. Life starts to feel alive again because you are finally here to experience it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not let the future disturb you. You will meet it if you have to, with the same reason you use to face the present." That is Stoic serenity, not to escape the pain, but to meet it with presence. You don't need to know how your story ends. You just need to be awake in this chapter. So when love leaves, stay rooted. Don't wander into the past or drown in imagined futures. Stand still, breathe deeply. Be here. Every moment you stay present, you gather your scattered self back together. Every moment you choose awareness over fear, you grow stronger roots, roots that no storm can uproot again. Because in the end, peace is not found by forgetting what happened. It's found by fully accepting where you are. The Stoic heart learns to say, the past is gone, the future will unfold, but right now I am whole and I am free. 8. The Stoic way to heal and rise again. When the person you love walks away, something inside you collapses. It feels as if the foundation of your world has cracked. The dreams you shared, the laughter that once filled your days, the small routines that once gave you comfort, all suddenly vanish into silence. The mind rushes in to fill that void with questions. Why did they leave? What did I do wrong? Will I ever feel whole again? These questions become chains, binding you to the pain of what's gone. But Stoicism teaches that healing does not begin with answers. It begins with acceptance. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The Stoic way to heal and rise again starts when you stop fighting reality. You don't need to understand why they left to begin healing. You don't need closure from them. You need clarity within yourself. The truth is, people leave because life moves them where they need to be. Just as you cannot hold on to the wind, you cannot hold on to someone whose path no longer aligns with yours. And as painful as that is, it is nature's way, an unfolding far bigger than your understanding. To the Stoic, everything that happens is an opportunity to live in accordance with virtue. Virtue, for them, means wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, the four unshakable pillars of a strong soul. And heartbreak, more than anything else, demands these virtues. You need wisdom to understand that you cannot control others, courage to face the emptiness left behind, justice to treat yourself with fairness and compassion, and temperance to stay balanced in the storm of emotion. Let's begin with wisdom. Wisdom is seeing things as they truly are, not as your emotions want them to be. When love fades, the mind creates illusions. It tells you stories like, if only I had done more, or if I change, they'll come back. But Stoic wisdom asks you to see reality clearly. What is gone is gone. You cannot control their choice, only your perception of it. The mind clings to hope because it fears emptiness, but emptiness is not death. It's the beginning of transformation. When you stop filling the silence with fantasies, you start hearing the truth inside you. Now courage, the second virtue. True courage is not fighting against pain. It is walking through it without losing yourself. It takes courage to face mornings that feel hollow. It takes courage to smile again when your heart still aches. It takes courage to stop checking your phone, to stop reliving old messages, to stop reopening wounds that are trying to close. The Stoic does not run from suffering. They meet it with strength. Marcus Aurelius said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. That means the world cannot hurt you unless you give it permission." Courage, therefore, is the refusal to give that permission anymore. Then comes justice. Most people misunderstand justice. They think it's about fairness from others. But Stoic justice begins within. It's about being fair to yourself. When you love deeply, you often give more to others than you give to yourself. You forgive them endlessly, but you punish yourself without mercy. You excuse their flaws while judging your own harshly. Justice means restoring that balance. It means realizing that your pain deserves care, your heart deserves rest, and your mind deserves peace. Being just to yourself means letting go of blame, not only toward them but toward yourself. The person who left played their part. You played yours. The story is complete. Let it rest. And finally, temperance, the art of self-control and balance. In heartbreak, emotions swing like a pendulum, from anger to sadness, from longing to numbness. The Stoic doesn't deny these emotions, but doesn't let them rule either. When you feel the wave rise, observe it. Say to yourself, this is sadness, this is anger, this is longing. Naming it creates distance. It reminds you that you are not the emotion. You are the awareness behind it. Temperance is the practice of not reacting to every impulse. When you want to send that desperate message, pause. When you want to blame, breathe. Every time you pause instead of react, you strengthen your inner fortress. Healing, in Stoicism, is not about forgetting. It's about integrating the experience into your growth. The Stoic doesn't erase pain. They transform it into wisdom. Every heartbreak is a teacher, every tear a lesson. When you look at pain through the lens of purpose, it loses its power to control you. Marcus Aurelius once reflected, "Everything that happens, happens as it should, and if you observe carefully, you will find this to be so." This isn't blind optimism. It's deep trust in the natural flow of life. Look at your heartbreak not as a loss, but as an unveiling. It stripped away illusions, forced you to confront your dependence, and showed you the places inside you that still need healing. Pain exposes the gaps where your peace was built on someone else's presence. Once you see those gaps, you can fill them with self-understanding. You begin to rebuild your foundation, not on fleeting emotions, but on unshakable truth. And what is that truth? That you are whole even when you are alone, that you are strong even when you feel weak, that you are loved by existence itself, even when a person walks away. The Stoics believed in aligning the self with nature, and nature is abundant, creative, and always renewing itself. Trees lose their leaves but do not mourn. They know spring will come. The sun sets each night but does not despair. It knows it will rise again. You too are part of this eternal cycle of renewal. Let this pain refine your purpose. Let it push you to live more deeply, more consciously. The energy you once gave to someone else can now be given to something higher, your growth, your art, your service, your spiritual journey. Use the silence they left behind to listen to your soul. What do you truly want? What have you been afraid to pursue? What version of yourself is waiting to be born from this heartbreak? Every great transformation begins with something breaking. Marcus Aurelius said, "The blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything thrown into it." Be that fire. Let this loss fuel your light. The anger, the sadness, the emptiness, burn them into clarity. Turn them into art, compassion, wisdom, or strength. Do not waste your suffering. The Stoic does not ask, "Why did this happen to me?" They ask, "How can this serve the greater good of my soul?" When you begin to see pain as a teacher, you no longer fear it. You respect it. You learn from it. You transcend it. In time, you'll look back and realize that this heartbreak wasn't the end of love. It was the beginning of real love. The kind that isn't dependent on someone else's affection. The kind that arises from knowing yourself deeply, accepting yourself fully, and walking through life with grace. That's the love Marcus Aurelius spoke of, the love aligned with virtue, with truth, with harmony. To heal the Stoic way is to rise slowly, quietly, and with dignity. It's to live each day with purpose, even when your heart still trembles. It's to say, "Yes, I was hurt, but I am not broken. I was abandoned, but I am not empty. I have lost, but I am still whole." Every day you live with calmness in your pain, you prove your strength. Every morning you wake up and choose peace over resentment. You honor your growth. There will come a day when the memory of them no longer burns, but simply rests, soft, distant, neutral. You will remember their laughter without ache. You will think of them not as your loss, but as your lesson. And that's when you'll know you've become what Stoicism always aimed for, unshaken by life, grounded in reason, and free in spirit. The Stoic way to heal is not to forget what happened, but to become wiser because of it. To love without losing yourself, to give without depending, to let go without hate. You were not meant to stay broken. You were meant to become unbreakable. So when someone you love walks away, do not collapse. Stand tall, watch the pieces of your heart fall, and then pick them up, not to rebuild the old version of yourself, but to create something entirely new. This is the rebirth that pain demands. This is how you rise, not with vengeance, not with despair, but with a calm and radiant strength that says, "I am still here, and I am still becoming." That is the Stoic way, to walk through the ruins of your pain, not as a victim, but as the architect of your rebirth. 9. Let go with grace, the Stoic art of peaceful release. There comes a moment, after the tears, after the overthinking, after the endless mental reruns of what could have been, when something inside you grows quiet. It's not because the pain is gone, but because you've finally grown tired of fighting the truth. That moment, the quiet acceptance of what is the beginning of wisdom. The Stoics called it living in accordance with nature, and it means flowing with the rhythm of life instead of resisting it. To let go with grace is not to stop caring. It is to stop clinging. It is to understand that love, like all things in the universe, has its seasons, and some seasons must end for new ones to begin. When someone you love walks away, you will feel the ache of unfinished words, the heaviness of unspoken hopes. You'll want to hold on, not to the person necessarily, but to the version of yourself that existed when you were loved by them. That's the part that truly hurts, the death of who you were in their presence. But Marcus Aurelius reminds us, everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth. The pain you feel is a story the mind tells itself, that you have lost something essential. But the truth is, nothing essential can ever be lost. The essence of who you are, your virtue, your peace, your strength, remains untouched, waiting for you beneath the rubble of emotion. To let go with grace is to stop grasping at illusions. The mind clings because it believes control can prevent pain. But the Stoic knows that clinging is the very cause of suffering. Epictetus taught, when you are attached to something not in your control, you invite pain. Love was never meant to be control. It was meant to be shared freely, like sunlight. You can't possess sunlight. You can only stand in it while it shines, and smile when it fades, knowing it will rise again somewhere else. When you release someone, you're not erasing them. You're setting both of you free. You're acknowledging that their path no longer aligns with yours, and that forcing them to stay would only breed resentment. Stoicism teaches that life is a flowing river. To hold on to one branch is to drown. The wise person loosens their grip, trusts the current, and allows themselves to be carried to new waters. Letting go with grace requires inner discipline. It means catching yourself in moments of weakness and redirecting your thoughts toward reason. When the mind whispers, maybe they'll return, answer gently, and if they don't, I will still be whole. When your heart says, I can't live without them, remind yourself, I have lived every day with myself. I am enough. Stoic detachment is not indifference. It is serenity in the face of impermanence. It's not that the Stoic feels less. It's that they feel deeply, but without drowning. There's a beauty in learning to release without hate. The ordinary mind believes that anger helps it heal, that if you can resent the one who left, you can stop loving them. But anger keeps you tied to them, just in a different form. It's a chain made of fire. It burns you more than it binds them. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." The same applies in love. The best closure is not to mirror their absence with bitterness, but to mirror the universe with peace. To let go gracefully, begin by forgiving. Not because they earned it, but because you no longer want to carry their shadow within you. Forgiveness is not agreement. It is release. It's saying, you no longer control my thoughts, my emotions, or my energy. The Stoic forgives not for others' sake, but for their own freedom. You cannot walk forward if you're dragging resentment like chains around your ankles. Forgiveness cuts those chains quietly. Acceptance follows forgiveness. Acceptance means acknowledging that life unfolds perfectly, even when it feels cruel. Marcus Aurelius observed that nature never does anything uselessly. Even heartbreak serves a purpose. It shapes your understanding, refines your character, and humbles your ego. When you let go with acceptance, you stop fighting reality. You begin to see beauty in the impermanence of things. The Stoics admired the transience of life. They found meaning in it. They understood that love's fragility is what makes it sacred. You appreciate a flower because it withers. You treasure a sunset because it fades. Love is no different. Letting go also means reclaiming your power. When you stop chasing, begging, or hoping for what's gone, you return your energy to yourself. The same energy you once used to maintain a connection can now be used to rebuild your soul. You can invest it into new passions, new learning, new strength. That's how the Stoic heals, by redirecting their focus from what's lost to what can still be created. You begin to realize that every ending carries within it a hidden beginning. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that he was part of something much larger than his personal desires, a divine order, a cosmic flow. He wrote, "What happens to each of us is for the good of the whole." When you look at your loss through this lens, it stops being purely personal. You begin to see that every event, even heartbreak, plays its role in the harmony of the universe. The one who left may have been part of your growth, your awakening, your journey toward wisdom. They were not the destination. They were the doorway. There is immense dignity in letting go with silence. You don't need to announce your pain to the world or prove that you've moved on. The Stoic way is quiet, steady, and inward. You withdraw your energy from drama and redirect it toward virtue. You work on becoming someone so peaceful that loss cannot disturb you anymore. When others see you calm in the face of pain, they call it coldness. But it's not coldness. It's mastery. It's the kind of strength that doesn't need to shout. Every time you resist the urge to reopen a wound, you are strengthening your will. Every time you choose reflection over reaction, you are polishing your soul. Healing doesn't happen all at once. It's a series of small victories. One silent morning where you no longer cry, one deep breath where you feel light again, one night when you finally sleep peacefully. Each small act of surrender is a step toward liberation. The Stoic learns to see life as a play directed by fate. You are the actor. You don't control the script, but you control how you perform your role. If someone exits the stage, it's because their part in your story is complete. You don't chase them behind the curtains. You bow, accept the scene's end, and continue your role with grace. This perspective frees you from attachment and brings dignity to your suffering. Letting go with grace doesn't mean erasing love. It means transforming it. You stop wishing for their return and start blessing their path. You wish them peace, even from afar. You thank them silently for what they taught you. You turn the love that once flowed outward into a deeper love for life itself. The Stoics believed that true love is universal, not confined to one person, but a constant state of goodwill toward all beings. When you live in that kind of love, no individual loss can take it away. With time, the ache will soften. The memories that once hurt will turn gentle. You'll begin to see that their leaving didn't destroy you, it revealed you. It stripped away illusions, showing you the part of yourself that is timeless, whole, and untouched by external change. You'll realize that the love you thought was lost was simply returning home, back to your heart, back to the source from which it came. And in that realization, something extraordinary happens. You begin to feel gratitude, not for the pain, but for the awakening it brought. You understand that without this heartbreak, you might have never met the stillness within you. You might have never learned the difference between attachment and love, between need and peace, between emotion and essence. The Stoic rises from pain wiser, calmer, and freer. So when someone you love walks away, let them. Don't chase, don't beg, don't fight what life is removing. Stand still, breathe deeply, and whisper to yourself, if it's leaving, it's meant to go. If it's staying, it's meant to grow. Let go not with anger, but with gratitude. Let go not as a victim, but as a student of life. The one who leaves teaches you how to return to yourself. And that is the most sacred lesson of all. Because letting go with grace is not the end of love. It's the beginning of wisdom. It's the point where pain turns into peace, where loss becomes liberation. And when you finally learn to release with serenity, you embody what Marcus Aurelius lived and wrote, that no event can harm the soul that remains aligned with reason, virtue, and truth. So close your eyes, breathe, let go, and know this, nothing real is ever lost. What is meant for you will never need to be chased, and what leaves you was never meant to stay. All that matters is that you remain steady, rooted, and free. For in the end, the only true possession you ever have, the only love that never leaves, is the calm strength of your own soul. 10. Rise above attachment. Become untouchable in spirit. There comes a time in every soul's journey when life demands that you rise above attachment, that you release everything you once thought defined you. The love you lost, the people who left, the plans that never became real. They were never meant to be permanent. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius, sitting alone in the silence of his palace, surrounded by the chaos of empire and loss, wrote in Meditations, "Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight." This is the essence of the Stoic way, to rise above what was taken and see it as transformation, not tragedy. When someone you love walks away, you stand at a crossroads. You can let the loss consume you, or you can let it free you. You can choose to stay trapped in the echoes of the past, or you can learn to walk in the light of understanding, the understanding that nothing and no one outside you has the power to define your peace. Attachment is the root of suffering. The Buddha spoke it, but so did the Stoics in their own way. To attach yourself to what is temporary is to hand over your happiness to the tides of fate. And fate, as Marcus wrote, weaves everything together. People, like seasons, come and go. You cannot command spring to stay, nor can you stop autumn from arriving. Likewise, you cannot hold on to love by clinging. True love and true peace are born from freedom, not possession. To rise above attachment does not mean to stop loving. It means to love in a higher way, without demand, without fear, without control. The Stoics' love is pure because it is free. It allows others to walk their path, and it allows the heart to remain calm even when that path leads away. When Marcus Aurelius lost his teacher, he did not collapse. He reflected. He thanked the universe for the time they shared, and then he turned his gratitude into strength. This is the art of living, to take what comes with an open heart and to let it go with grace. When you live attached to outcomes, to who stays, who leaves, who loves you, you chain your spirit to the unpredictable. And when those chains break, as they always will, you fall. But when you rise above attachment, you walk lightly. You can love fully and lose calmly, because you no longer measure life by what you have or don't have, but by how deeply you live in harmony with truth. Epictetus, who lived much of his life as a slave, understood this better than most. He said, "When you kiss your child goodnight, remind yourself that you are kissing a mortal." This wasn't meant to be cruel. It was meant to wake you up to the beauty of impermanence. Every person you love, every sunrise, every breath, all of it is temporary, and that is precisely what makes it precious. When you understand this, attachment transforms into appreciation. You stop clinging and start cherishing. You stop fearing loss and start valuing the moment. The Stoic learns to live with an open hand, not a clenched fist. To hold life gently is to allow it to flow through you, not around you. When you grasp too tightly, you block the current of destiny. The river of life cannot fill a closed hand. It's only when you open your palm, when you release your desperate need to control, that life begins to give again. This is not an easy path. To rise above attachment requires daily practice, the discipline to observe your mind, to question your impulses, to challenge your desires. You will notice the mind's constant craving for reassurance, for control, for permanence. The Stoic practice is to catch these cravings and remind yourself, this too is beyond me. You cannot make anyone stay. You cannot undo what has already happened. But you can choose how you respond. You can choose serenity over suffering. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be like a cliff against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it." That cliff is your mind when anchored in reason. When the waves of emotion crash, the memories, the longing, the grief, they may shake you, but they cannot move you, because you are no longer identified with the waves. You are the rock beneath them. When you rise above attachment, you discover an incredible freedom. You realize that nothing external, no rejection, no silence, no departure can truly harm you. You understand that the only real suffering comes from within, from your resistance to what is. You begin to see every experience as part of your soul's training, every heartbreak as a test of strength, every loss as a lesson in acceptance, every ending as the soil of renewal. The Stoics were not detached because they didn't care. They were detached because they cared correctly. They loved without losing themselves. They served without seeking reward. They gave without expecting return. That's why their peace was unshakable, because it did not depend on anything fragile. The one who rises above attachment does not need to withdraw from life. They participate more fully because they no longer fear the pain of impermanence. Look at nature. The tree does not cling to its leaves when winter comes. It lets them go, trusting that new life will come in time. The sun does not chase the night sky, it simply rises again. Everything in existence teaches the same truth. Let go, and life renews itself. You are part of that same rhythm. When love leaves, it's not the end. It's a change of season in the garden of your soul. Marcus Aurelius believed that aligning with nature meant aligning with truth. And the greatest truth is that change is constant. To resist change is to suffer. To flow with it is to find peace. The Stoic way is to surrender without defeat, to trust without fear, to love without attachment. This is the path to true inner freedom. When you rise above attachment, you begin to experience a deeper kind of love. Love that no longer needs to own or possess. You begin to love people not for what they give you, but for what they awaken in you. You can bless their journey, even if it no longer includes you. You can let them go without closing your heart. That is the ultimate strength, the ability to remain open in a world that constantly asks you to shut down. The person who hurt you, the one who walked away, they were part of your evolution. They came into your life to teach you something you could not learn alone. Maybe they taught you patience. Maybe they revealed your capacity for forgiveness. Maybe they showed you where your attachments were keeping you small. Whatever the lesson, thank them silently. You don't have to speak to them again. You just have to acknowledge what their presence and their absence brought to your growth. In time, you will see that letting go was never about losing. It was about clearing space. Life had to empty your hands so it could fill them again with something more aligned with your path. The Stoics never saw endings as disasters. They saw them as transitions, the unfolding of divine order. You are not being punished. You are being redirected. To rise above attachment is to become untouchable in spirit, not unfeeling, but unbreakable. You still feel everything, love, loss, joy, sadness, but nothing owns you anymore. You become like the ocean, deep, vast, and calm, even when waves ripple across your surface. You stop chasing balance and become balance. You stop searching for peace and realize you are peace, once you stop clinging to everything temporary. So as you walk forward, remember this: you cannot lose what was never truly yours, and what is meant for you will find you without struggle. Let people go kindly. Release the need to be understood, to be chosen, to be remembered. These are all forms of attachment. Your only duty is to live with virtue, to act with love, and to stay aligned with truth. That's what makes you powerful beyond heartbreak, beyond rejection, beyond change. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The universe is change, life is opinion. You cannot stop change, but you can change your opinion about it. See it not as cruelty, but as design. See every ending as a portal to greater freedom. Rise above the noise of longing and stand firm in your own stillness. Let this be your quiet vow, to never again let the presence or absence of another person determine your peace. To walk through this life with an open heart and an unshakable mind. To love deeply, but never lose yourself. To release gently and rise silently. Because that's what true Stoic mastery looks like. Not the absence of emotion, but the transcendence of it. You no longer react to the world. You respond with calm understanding. You no longer cling to what's fleeting. You hold fast to what's eternal. And what's eternal is not them, not the relationship, not the story. It's you. The conscious, aware, resilient self that remains after everything else fades. That self cannot be abandoned, cannot be rejected, cannot be lost. It is the divine flame within you, steady and silent, untouched by the winds of change. When you rise above attachment, you finally understand what Marcus Aurelius meant when he said, "Look well into yourself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if you will always look there. The one who can let go with peace has mastered life itself. So, let the past go. Let the future unfold. Stay still, stay calm, stay free. For you have not lost, you have simply returned to yourself. And in that return lies everything you were ever seeking." 11. The power of inner stillness. How to rebuild yourself the Stoic way. There comes a point after heartbreak when the noise fades, not because the world becomes quieter, but because you begin to stop chasing it. At first, it feels unnatural. The silence that follows love's departure is haunting. You wake up and reach for your phone out of habit, only to find no message waiting. You walk through your day carrying invisible weight. The mind keeps searching for something familiar. A voice, a presence, a sense of belonging that has vanished. But the Stoics would tell you, this silence is sacred. It is not emptiness, it is space. And in that space, if you are brave enough to sit with it, you can rebuild yourself completely. Marcus Aurelius, in the darkest hours of his rule, surrounded by death, disease, and betrayal, wrote these words, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. What he discovered, and what every broken heart must one day learn, is that healing does not come from noise, distraction, or new attachments. It comes from stillness, from learning to be at peace in your own company, from realizing that the mind, when anchored in reason and virtue, becomes the most unshakable sanctuary in existence. To rebuild yourself the Stoic way means to return to that sanctuary, to strip away everything that does not belong to your soul, and to remember what cannot be taken from you. The love that left was never the source of your peace. It was merely a mirror reflecting what already existed within you. The Stoics believed that nothing external can truly complete or destroy you. What matters is the state of your inner world. Your thoughts, your values, your discipline. Lose yourself there and you lose everything. Master yourself there and you become invincible. After someone you love walks away, the mind panics. It wants movement, new plans, new distractions, new people. But Marcus would urge you to pause, to breathe, to look inward instead of outward. Because what you're truly searching for is not them, it's yourself. The part of you that became buried beneath dependence, attachment, or expectation. That inner stillness, that quiet power, is what heartbreak forces you to rediscover. Stillness does not mean suppression. The Stoic never denies their emotions. They observe them with calm understanding. When pain rises, you don't fight it. You watch it, the same way you'd watch a storm from behind glass. You see its shape, its ferocity, its passing. And in that watching, something miraculous happens. You realize that you are not the storm. The waves of grief crash and roar, but your awareness remains untouched, constant, steady. That is the beginning of inner freedom. Epictetus, who was once a slave and suffered immense hardship, said, Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of things. When someone hurts you, the pain isn't just from their action, it's from the story your mind builds around it. They left, so I must not be worthy. They moved on, so I must not matter. These are not facts, they are interpretations. The Stoic practice is to separate the event from the meaning we assign to it. The event, they left, is neutral. The meaning, I am not enough, is optional. And that means it can be changed. To rebuild yourself, you must first rebuild your thoughts. Replace the voice of self-blame with the voice of truth. Say to yourself, they left because their path diverged from mine. That is not a reflection of my value, but of the universe's flow. Every time you choose reason over rumination, you reclaim a piece of your peace. Slowly, you begin to rebuild not just confidence, but clarity, the kind of clarity that no external validation can ever give. The Stoic also understands that solitude is not loneliness, it's training. Solitude reveals what distractions hide, the gaps in your character, the noise in your thinking, the weaknesses in your self-discipline. When the world is quiet, you meet yourself honestly, and this meeting, though uncomfortable, is necessary for growth. It is in solitude that Marcus Aurelius wrote his Meditations. It is in solitude that you too begin to write the next chapter of your life, not with words, but with choices. Stillness gives you the strength to observe without reacting. When your emotions flare, instead of being carried away by them, you pause and ask, is this within my control? If it is not, you let it go. This question becomes your compass. It keeps your energy focused on what truly matters, your actions, your virtues, your responses. Everything else, people's choices, life's uncertainties, fate's twists, you release. The more you practice this, the stronger your calm becomes. To rebuild yourself the Stoic way, you must also embrace discipline. Healing is not passive. It is not simply waiting for time to numb the pain. It's an active, daily decision to live by principle, not emotion. Wake early, move your body. Read wisdom, practice gratitude, serve others. Every disciplined act, however small, becomes a brick in the foundation of your new self. As Marcus wrote, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one, replace self-pity with purpose. Let your actions restore what Heartbreak tried to steal, your sense of control. The Stoics often practiced a mental exercise called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of misfortune. It means imagining loss before it happens so you can meet it with composure when it does. In Heartbreak, this practice teaches you that love, like all things, is temporary. When you accept that truth, you no longer resist endings. You meet them with understanding. You stop asking life to be comfortable and start asking yourself to be strong. Marcus Aurelius said, accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. That last part is important, with all your heart. The Stoic doesn't love halfway out of fear of loss. They love fully, knowing loss is inevitable, but they never let loss destroy them because they never mistake attachment for love. True love enriches you without enslaving you. When it ends, it leaves you wiser, not broken. Inner stillness also teaches you compassion. Once you understand your own suffering, you begin to see the suffering of others with gentleness instead of judgment. The person who left, perhaps they too were lost, confused, seeking peace they couldn't find. The Stoic doesn't carry hatred because they understand that every human being acts from their own perception of what's good, even if that perception is flawed. To forgive, then, is not to approve. It's to understand. It's to release yourself from the weight of resentment and walk lighter into your future. And slowly, something remarkable begins to happen. You start to enjoy the quiet. You start to feel alive in your solitude. You begin to notice things you missed before, the texture of sunlight on the floor, the rhythm of your breath, the peace in small routines. You realize that life continues to give beauty even after loss, and that beauty was never dependent on another person. The calm you feel is not emptiness. It's the sound of your mind returning home. To rebuild yourself in this way is to become unshakable, not in a cold or detached way, but in a wise, grounded way. You learn to move through life without demanding that it bend to your will. You learn to be content with simplicity, to find joy in virtue, to see every day as a chance to grow stronger. You no longer fear endings because you have learned how to begin again within yourself. And when love returns, as it inevitably will in one form or another, you will meet it differently. You will love without losing yourself. You will care deeply without clinging. You will walk beside others without depending on their direction, because now you know that peace is not something they can give you or take away. It is something you carry within. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." That single truth contains the entire Stoic secret of rebuilding. Change your thoughts, and you change your world. If your mind is calm, no external storm can reach you. If your thoughts are aligned with reason and virtue, you will always find a way forward, not by escaping pain, but by transcending it. The Stoic way of rebuilding is not about becoming someone new. It's about returning to who you truly are, the self that existed before the pain, the self untouched by chaos. It's a homecoming, not a transformation. Pain did not destroy you. It merely revealed the places that needed rebuilding. And now, with stillness as your guide, you can rebuild stronger than ever. So, be still, sit with your soul. Let silence be your teacher. Let pain polish you, not punish you. One day, you'll wake up and realize that you no longer need anything external to feel whole. You'll carry your peace quietly, like armor made of grace. You'll understand what Marcus meant when he said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And yours, once painted with longing and grief, will now shine with calm, wisdom, and strength. This is the power of inner stillness, the Stoic way of rebuilding yourself. It doesn't promise that life will stop testing you. It promises that no test will ever break you again. You will move through love, loss, and change with the same steady heart, rooted in the unshakable truth that you are your own peace, and no one, no matter how deeply loved, can ever take that away. 12. The unbreakable soul. How to find freedom after losing everything. There are moments in life when it feels like everything has been taken from you. Love, purpose, stability, meaning. You wake up and nothing feels familiar anymore. The person who once gave your life rhythm is gone. The plans you built have vanished, and the future that once felt certain has collapsed into silence. This is the moment when most people break, not because of what happened, but because they no longer know who they are without what they've lost. But the Stoics would tell you, this is not the end. This is the beginning of your rebirth. Marcus Aurelius, after losing his wife, children, and trusted friends, still wrote every night in meditations, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." In those words lies the secret to surviving loss. The realization that nothing external was ever truly yours to keep, and yet everything that truly matters is already within you. The Stoic sees loss not as destruction, but as revelation. When everything falls apart, what remains is who you really are, the unbreakable soul beneath all illusion. Freedom begins the moment you stop resisting reality. The pain that follows loss is not caused by the loss itself, but by your struggle against it, the mind's refusal to accept what has already happened. You cannot heal while fighting the truth. The Stoics practiced amor fati, the love of fate, to not merely accept what life gives and takes, but to embrace it as necessary, even good. When you say yes to reality, you free yourself from the torment of why. When someone you love leaves, or when life takes away what you thought you could not live without, the ego panics. It tries to rebuild the old story. It wants to believe that with enough effort, enough pleading, enough explanation, things will return to how they were. But they won't, and they're not meant to. Marcus wrote, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. Everything changes because that's how life grows. You are not being punished, you are being reshaped. What you lost was the shell. What remains is the essence. Freedom after loss begins with surrender, not defeat, but deep surrender. It's the courage to stop running, to stop controlling, and to simply sit in the wreckage with open eyes. You tell yourself, yes, this happened. Yes, I am in pain, but I am still here." That simple acknowledgement opens the door to transformation. The Stoic doesn't hide from pain, they study it. They ask, what is this teaching me about myself? Every loss strips away something false. Illusions about control, permanence, and dependency. Pain is the sculptor, carving away what doesn't belong, revealing the form beneath. You start to see that much of what you thought was love was actually attachment. That much of what you called security was actually fear. The Stoic path is the process of learning to distinguish between what is essential and what is temporary. The essential is internal, your character, your reason, your virtue. The temporary is everything else. To find freedom after losing everything, you must reorient your life from the outside to the inside. You must stop measuring your worth by what you possess and start measuring it by how you live. Epictetus, who once had everything taken from him, his freedom, his status, even his health, still declared, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That is the Stoic definition of freedom, self-mastery. When you govern your mind, no loss can enslave you again. Begin by observing your thoughts without judgment. Notice how the mind clings to the past, to the what-ifs, to the pain. The Stoic practice is to separate what you can control from what you cannot. You cannot control who stays or who leaves. You cannot control whether life gives or takes. But you can control your interpretation. You can control your response. That is your inner citadel, the fortress of the soul that remains untouchable by external events. Marcus Aurelius called this the mind within which has no part in the passions. It doesn't mean you don't feel emotion. It means you don't drown in it. When grief comes, you allow it to pass through you like a storm through open fields. You don't block it and you don't chase it. You stand firm and let it teach you patience. In that stillness, your mind becomes your compass again. There is profound freedom in realizing that nothing external can truly harm you. The Stoics knew that suffering begins when we mistake external things for the source of our happiness. The moment you realize that your peace was never in the hands of another person, not in love, not in loss, you take back your power. What you truly grieve is not the loss itself, but the illusion that you needed it to be whole. Rebuilding after loss requires gratitude, not for the pain itself, but for what it reveals. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing to what remains. Even now there is breath. Even now there is awareness. Even now there is the chance to live with virtue. Marcus wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love." Gratitude transforms suffering into wisdom by reminding you that life itself, fragile and fleeting as it is the greatest gift of all. Another step toward freedom is forgiveness, not just of others, but of yourself. Forgive yourself for not seeing sooner, for loving too much or too little, for being human. The Stoic understands that mistakes are not failures, they are opportunities for learning. Marcus reminded himself daily, when you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, jealous, and surly. But I will not be harmed by them. This is how you protect your peace. By expecting imperfection, not perfection, from the world and from yourself. The Stoic also learns the power of simplicity. After losing much, you begin to see how little you actually need. You realize that peace doesn't come from abundance, it comes from alignment, a clear conscience, a disciplined mind, a grateful heart. These are enough. The Stoic's joy is quiet, found in small acts of integrity and self-control. When you simplify your desires, you remove the hooks that keep you tied to suffering. And then comes meaning. To rise from the ashes, you must find purpose in what happened. The Stoics believed that everything in nature serves a purpose. Even destruction creates space for renewal. Ask yourself, what is life asking of me now? Maybe it's asking for solitude, for reflection, for strength. Maybe it's asking you to guide others through their darkness one day. Nothing you've endured is wasted if it deepens your compassion. The unbreakable soul is not one that feels no pain. It's one that no longer fears pain. When you stop fearing loss, you stop clinging to illusions. You stop living as a hostage to outcomes. You begin to see every experience, joy or sorrow, as part of your evolution. That is real freedom, not the absence of suffering, but the understanding that suffering no longer defines you. When Marcus wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way," he meant that obstacles are not detours from your path. They are the path. This heartbreak, this loss, this silence, it is your training ground. It's where you learn resilience, patience, perspective. The soul grows not in comfort, but in challenge. The fire that burns you today will become the light that guides you tomorrow. And in time you will rise, not as who you were, but as who you were meant to become. The Stoic doesn't rebuild by returning to the past. They rebuild by building something better within. They no longer seek perfection outside, but harmony inside. You will learn to love again, but differently, from fullness, not need. You will live again, but consciously, anchored, aware, free. You will also begin to see others differently. Where once you saw betrayal, you'll see lessons. Where once you saw loss, you'll see direction. Where once you saw endings, you'll see openings. The Stoic vision is panoramic. It sees both the suffering and the wisdom intertwined. You no longer ask, "Why did this happen to me?" You ask, "What is life shaping me into?" To find freedom after losing everything, you must make peace with impermanence. You must love what is fleeting without trying to keep it. You must hold life as a guest, not a possession. And you must remember that your purpose is not to control the flow of the universe, but to flow with it gracefully. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Whatever the universal nature assigns to any man at any time is for the good of that man at that time." So breathe deeply, stand tall in the ruins. The walls of your old life may have fallen, but look closely. Beneath the debris lies the foundation of something indestructible, your reason, your virtue, your will. These are eternal. Build on them. Let your loss refine you, not define you. The Stoic way is not about escaping pain, it's about transcending it. It's about realizing that you are not the things you lose, nor the people who leave, nor the plans that fail. You are the awareness that remains. You are the consciousness that endures. You are the unbreakable soul that life itself cannot destroy. And when you finally understand this, you'll find peace, not because life becomes easier, but because you've stopped asking it to be. You'll walk through the world with calm eyes and an open heart, loving without fear, living without clinging, and accepting without despair. That is the true freedom the Stoics spoke of, not freedom from loss, but freedom within it. Because nothing external can imprison the soul that has found its strength within. And once you've found that strength, once you've stood in the ashes of everything you've lost and realized that you still exist, still breathe, still love, then you will know nothing can ever truly take from you what was never meant to be lost. Your peace, your virtue, your unbreakable self. 13. The art of becoming whole again. The Stoic path to inner harmony. When life tears something precious from you, a person, a dream, a sense of belonging, it feels as though a part of you has been taken away. You wake up carrying an invisible heaviness, a silence that hums beneath everything you do. The laughter that once came so easily now feels foreign. You start to believe that you will never be the same again, and in a way, you won't. But the Stoics would remind you that this isn't a tragedy, it's transformation. What breaks you also reveals you. What leaves you also leads you back to yourself. The journey to becoming whole again is not about finding what was lost. It's about rediscovering what was never gone. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look well into yourself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if you will always look there." These are not the words of a man untouched by loss. They are the reflections of someone who lost nearly everything. His wife, his mentors, his children, his peace, all were taken by time. Yet through it all, he found a deeper strength, one that no misfortune could reach. That strength was not in possessions, relationships, or circumstance. It was within. The Stoic path to wholeness is the return to that inner source, the place inside you that remains unbroken no matter what storms pass through your life. When you lose someone you love, you don't just lose a person. You lose an identity that was built around them. You lose the version of yourself that existed when they were near. This is why heartbreak feels like death, because something within you truly dies. But as the Stoics teach, nature is a cycle of death and renewal. The leaves fall not as punishment, but to make way for new life. Likewise, when life strips something away from you, it is creating space for something purer, deeper, and more real to grow. To become whole again, the first step is acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean indifference. It means seeing things as they are, without the veil of illusion or resistance. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Welcome every experience the weaving of fate brings. The pain you feel now is part of that weaving. It belongs to the fabric of your existence. You can curse it, deny it, or embrace it, but you cannot escape it." The Stoic accepts because they understand that to resist what has already happened is to fight the ocean with a fist. The moment you stop struggling against what is, peace begins to return. The next step is to reconnect with reason. Heartbreak, loss, betrayal. These experiences pull you into emotion's storm. You lose clarity, drowning in thoughts of why and what if. The Stoic anchors themselves in reason not to suppress emotion, but to see beyond its distortion. Reason is the lighthouse guiding you through the fog of suffering. Ask yourself, what can I control right now? The answer will always be the same. Your thoughts, your actions, your character. Everything else lies outside your command. By returning your focus to what's truly yours, you begin to regain stability. You also learn to detach without closing your heart. The Stoic doesn't harden into apathy, they soften into understanding. They know that to love deeply in a world of impermanence means to risk pain, but they love anyway. Detachment is not the absence of emotion, it is the mastery of it. It's the ability to let something go without losing your peace. You can love someone and still accept their departure. You can miss them and still remain calm. That's what it means to be whole. To feel everything but not to be enslaved by anything. Becoming whole again also requires forgiveness, the gentle release of resentment, both toward others and yourself. When someone hurts you, your mind naturally seeks justice. You want closure, explanation, or revenge. But Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." Forgiveness, in the Stoic sense, is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's the refusal to let another's actions dictate your state of mind. When you forgive, you take back control. You stop carrying the weight of what's already gone. Forgiving yourself is even harder. You'll blame yourself for not seeing the signs, for loving too much or too little, for trusting the wrong person. But the Stoic knows that self-blame is just another form of resistance. You did the best you could with the awareness you had. Every decision, even the ones that led to pain, was part of your education. As Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Mastery means compassion. It means accepting your imperfections without being ruled by them. Once acceptance and forgiveness take root, something shifts. You begin to see beauty again. The same world that once felt empty starts to feel alive. The wind, the trees, the quiet, all begin to speak to you in a new language. You realize that the universe never stopped giving. You were simply too focused on what you lost to see what remained. The Stoic's peace is not found in avoidance of pain, but in intimacy with life, the willingness to meet every moment fully without clinging or fear. Wholeness also grows from purpose. The Stoics believed that living virtuously, with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, is the highest goal. When you align your actions with these virtues, you stop being fragmented by external desires. You stop chasing validation or comfort, and instead you begin to live with integrity. Pain becomes bearable when it serves meaning. So turn your suffering into service. Let your experience make you gentler with others. Let your heartbreak make you wiser in love. Let your losses make you humble and kind. Every wound becomes sacred when you use it to help another soul heal. To become whole again, you must also learn to dwell in the present. The mind loves to time travel, to replay the past or predict the future. But peace lives only here, in this breath. Marcus wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." When you stay anchored in the now, your pain cannot dominate you. The past is memory, the future is imagination. Only the present is real. Each time you bring your focus back to this moment, you reclaim power from the ghosts of what was. Inner harmony doesn't mean the absence of pain. It means the presence of balance. You'll still feel waves of sadness, but they won't control you. You'll still think of what's gone, but without bitterness. The Stoic heart is both tender and strong. Tender enough to feel love, strong enough to let it go. Wholeness is not about being unscarred. It's about being peaceful with your scars. When Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Everything that happens, happens as it should," he wasn't denying human pain, he was transcending it. He understood that even suffering serves the good of the whole. The universe is vast, wise, and interconnected beyond our comprehension. The loss that breaks you may be the very event that saves you from a greater misalignment. Trust that even this pain has purpose. In time, you will notice that your grief begins to soften. It will no longer define your days. It will simply live quietly inside you, not as an open wound, but as a scar that reminds you of how deeply you've lived. The person you've become through this pain will be calmer, more grounded, more free. The storms that once shook you will now barely move you. You will begin to live not in reaction, but in awareness. And that is what it means to become whole again. It's not about returning to who you were before the loss. That version no longer exists. It's about becoming the wiser, deeper version that the loss awakened. It's about realizing that peace is not something to find, but something to remember. It has been within you all along. The Stoic journey leads you back to yourself, to the part of you that watches without fear, acts without pride, loves without chains. When you finally arrive there, you will understand what Marcus Aurelius meant when he said, "Dwell on the beauty of life, watch the stars, and see yourself running with them. You'll see that you were never truly broken, only rearranged. And what you call becoming whole again is really remembering that you already were. So breathe, forgive, accept, release, trust. Every ending is a return to truth. Every heartbreak is a call to rediscover peace." The Stoic does not rise above life. They rise within it. They do not escape pain. They learn to move through it with grace. And in that grace, they find what cannot be lost, an unshakable harmony between heart and reason, between self and universe, between loss and love. When you reach that state, when you can look at your life and say, "I have lost much, but I have found myself," you will finally know what it means to be whole again. That is the quiet triumph of the Stoic spirit, not to escape suffering, but to transform it into peace so profound that nothing and no one can ever break it again. 14. The calm beyond chaos. How to build inner peace that nothing can disturb. There will come a point in every person's life when chaos knocks on the door, uninvited, unexpected, and unrelenting. Sometimes it arrives as heartbreak. Sometimes it takes the form of failure, betrayal, or loss. The world you built so carefully can collapse overnight. The relationships you depended on can vanish without warning. You can find yourself standing in the ruins of what used to be your sense of safety, wondering how to go on. The Stoics lived for these moments, not because they enjoyed suffering, but because they saw in chaos the greatest opportunity for mastery. For them, peace was not found in escaping disorder, but in transcending it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This single idea that peace comes from within is the foundation of unshakable calm. The Stoics understood that the external world will always be turbulent. Empires rise and fall, seasons change, people come and go, fortune favors and then forgets. If your peace depends on the behavior of others or the predictability of life, then your peace is fragile. But if your peace lives inside your mind, rooted in reason and virtue, then it becomes immovable, a flame that burns undisturbed even in the fiercest wind. When someone you love leaves or life tests you deeply, the instinct is to seek control. You want to fix, explain, argue, or hold on. But Marcus Aurelius reminds us that control over others is an illusion. The Stoic path to peace begins with one truth. You cannot control what happens, only how you respond. That realization alone can end years of silent suffering. You stop trying to manage the ocean and instead learn how to sail it. To build inner peace that nothing can disturb, the first step is awareness. Awareness is the foundation of Stoic philosophy. The untrained mind reacts blindly. The aware mind observes first. When something painful happens, a harsh word, a broken promise, a sudden loss, pause. Don't react immediately. Watch your emotions rise and fall like waves. Name them. This is anger. This is fear. This is sadness. By naming them, you separate yourself from them. You realize that your feelings are happening within you, not to you. And if they're within you, you can learn to manage them. The second step is perspective. The Stoics were masters of perspective. They knew that most suffering is magnified by the stories we tell ourselves. When you are hurt, the mind exaggerates. This will never get better. I can't live without them. Everything is ruined. These thoughts are not facts, they are judgments. Marcus Aurelius practiced shrinking problems down to size by viewing them from the vastness of time. He would remind himself that all pain is temporary, that in the grand scale of the universe, even the heaviest burden is but a brief flicker. This is not denial, it's clarity. When you zoom out, pain loses its ability to dominate your world. The third step is acceptance. Peace is impossible without it. The Stoic does not waste energy wishing that reality were different. They meet life as it is. Epictetus said, "Seek not for events to happen as you wish, but wish for events to happen as they do, and your life will flow smoothly." This doesn't mean you stop striving for change. It means you stop resisting what is. When something happens that you can't control, say to yourself, "This is part of the order of the universe. Let me face it with virtue." Acceptance is not surrender. It is strength in its highest form. The fourth step is alignment with nature. The Stoics believed that inner peace comes from living in harmony with the natural flow of existence. That means not fighting what is meant to be transient. Everything in nature changes. Rivers flow, stars die, leaves fall. Why then should your life be any different? The pain of change comes not from change itself, but from your refusal to allow it. When you see yourself as part of the larger design, as a participant, not a victim, you begin to flow with life instead of against it. The fifth step is to cultivate virtue. For the Stoics, virtue was the root of all happiness and the anchor of the soul. Virtue means living with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, to act with reason, to face fear with strength, to treat others with fairness, and to control your desires. When your life is guided by these principles, external events lose their power over you. The world may shake, but your character does not. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself every morning, "Today I shall meet people who are meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. But none of them can harm me." Why? Because their behavior cannot touch his virtue. The sixth step is detachment from outcomes. This doesn't mean apathy. It means effort without expectation. You do your best and release the result. You speak the truth and let others interpret it as they will. You give love without demanding it in return. You act rightly not for reward, but because it aligns with your nature. Detachment frees you from disappointment because you no longer depend on the world for validation. The Stoic doesn't seek peace through control, but through surrender to the natural consequences of right action. The seventh step is gratitude. Gratitude transforms how you see the world. Instead of focusing on what's gone, the Stoic looks at what remains. Even in pain, there are blessings, breath, awareness, wisdom, the opportunity to live another day with integrity. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about the gift of waking up each morning. When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love. Gratitude doesn't erase suffering, but it reframes it. It reminds you that even in loss, you still have something to give, something to learn, something to love. The eighth step is solitude. Modern life teaches us to fear silence, to drown discomfort in noise, but the Stoic finds strength in solitude. It's in silence that you meet your true self, the part of you untouched by praise or blame, success or failure. Spend time alone with your thoughts, and you'll begin to see that peace was never missing. It was simply buried beneath distraction. Stillness isn't emptiness, it's clarity. The ninth step is reflection. The Stoics were relentless self-examiners. Every night, Marcus Aurelius would review his day, his actions, his thoughts, his reactions. He didn't do this to judge himself, but to grow. He would ask, "What did I do well? What could I have done better? Did I act in accordance with virtue?" This daily practice turns chaos into learning. It prevents bitterness from taking root. The examined mind becomes a garden of wisdom. The 10th step, perhaps the most profound, is love for fate. Amor fati, the love of what happens. To reach this level of peace is to no longer see any event as purely good or bad, but simply as part of the whole. You begin to understand that even suffering plays a role in your evolution. The people who left were meant to. The pain you endured was necessary for your awakening. When you love your fate, you no longer resist life. You move in harmony with it, trusting that every event, pleasant or painful, is a step toward your ultimate good. And what happens when you live this way? Chaos loses its power over you. Pain becomes information. Loss becomes direction. Every challenge becomes training. You stop being thrown around by life and start moving with purpose. You begin to embody what Marcus called the still mind in the whirlwind. To build inner peace that nothing can disturb, you must realize that peace is not an achievement. It's a discipline. It's not something you find once and keep forever. It's something you practice every day. You build it every time you pause instead of reacting, every time you choose gratitude over complaint, every time you act with virtue instead of vengeance. Slowly, quietly, your mind becomes a fortress, not a hard one that shuts the world out, but a wise one that welcomes it all without losing balance. You'll still face storms, heartbreak, failure, rejection, but you'll face them differently. You'll no longer say, "Why is this happening to me?" but rather, "What can I learn from this?" You'll no longer run from discomfort, but sit with it until it reveals its lesson. You'll stop seeing yourself as a victim of fate and start seeing yourself as its student. In this state, even chaos becomes sacred. Every event, every person, every loss becomes part of your growth. You'll find yourself calm in places where you once broke down, smiling where you once wept, understanding where you once resented. That is the calm beyond chaos, the peace that does not depend on circumstances. Marcus Aurelius called it living according to nature. You could also call it living according to truth, for nature itself is calm. The river flows without resistance. The tree bends with the wind, but never breaks. The stars burn silently in endless cycles, and you too are part of that order. When you align with it, when your thoughts are clear, your actions virtuous, and your acceptance total, then nothing can truly disturb you again. So, when life shakes you, don't run. Don't beg for peace to return. Instead, create it inside yourself. Stand like a mountain amid the storm. Be like the ocean, deep, silent, powerful. Let life crash against you as it will, and when the dust settles you will still be there, calm, steady, and whole. This is the Stoic way, the path that leads through chaos to serenity, through loss to wisdom, through pain to peace. And when you master this art, when your calm no longer depends on the world, you will know what true freedom feels like, a peace so deep that even the universe itself cannot take it away. 15. The strength of stillness. How to remain unshaken when life tests you. There are moments in life when everything you thought you could rely on begins to crumble. The people you trusted withdraw, the dreams you built start to collapse, and the stability you depended on begins to fade. In those moments, it's easy to feel as though the ground itself is giving way beneath your feet. You question your strength, you question your purpose, you even begin to question yourself. But this is precisely where the Stoic path begins, in the quiet center of collapse, in the sacred stillness between loss and renewal. Marcus Aurelius faced more chaos than most could bear, wars that threatened his empire, betrayals that tore at his trust, the death of his wife and the loss of several of his children. Yet, in the solitude of his nights, he wrote words not of despair, but of resilience. If you are pained by external things, it is not they that disturb you, but your own judgment about them. And it is in your power to wipe out that judgment now. That is the essence of Stoic stillness, the understanding that life will always move unpredictably, but your mind need not move with it. To remain unshaken when life tests you is not about pretending to be unaffected. It's about mastering the art of calm awareness, learning to witness without collapsing, to endure without bitterness, to act without panic. The Stoic way is not a denial of emotion, it is the elevation of consciousness. It's about transforming reaction into reflection and pain into purpose. The first lesson in stillness is observation without identification. When something painful happens, when someone betrays you, when you fail, when life turns against your plans, the immediate impulse is to say, "This is happening to me." But the Stoic separates themselves from the chaos by realizing, this is simply happening. You are not your pain, you are the awareness behind it. You are not the noise, you are the silence observing it. Marcus Aurelius compared the mind to a fortress, secure, self-contained and invincible when properly guarded. The key is vigilance, not allowing every external event to invade the gates of your peace. Stillness begins when you stop letting external circumstances dictate your internal state. When a storm rises outside, you do not rush to stop the wind. You close your windows, steady your breath, and wait for calm to return. The Stoic mind works the same way. Instead of trying to control people, situations, or fate itself, you control the one thing always within your command, your response. Epictetus taught, "We suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgments about them." Two people can face the same challenge. One collapses, the other grows, because one resists while the other accepts. The Stoic does not ask life to be gentle. They ask for the strength to meet it as it comes. When pain knocks, they open the door and say, "You too are part of nature. Come in, teach me what I need to learn." The second lesson in stillness is discipline over emotion. Emotions are not enemies, they are signals. Anger reveals injustice. Sadness points to loss. Fear warns of danger. But the untrained mind allows these signals to become storms. The Stoic, however, reads the emotion, thanks it for the message, and then lets it pass. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Don't let your mind be taken by passions, for if reason goes, all is lost." To remain calm is not to suppress feeling. It's to put reason in the driver's seat. When you feel anger rising, pause. When grief floods your chest, breathe through it. When anxiety whispers, "What if everything falls apart?" answer with, "Then I will rebuild." Every pause is an act of power. Every conscious breath is a declaration that the world may move, but you will not be dragged by it. The third lesson is faith in the order of the universe, or what the Stoics called logos, the rational structure of all things. They believed that every event, pleasant or painful, serves a purpose in the grand design. You may not see it now, but every difficulty is shaping you into who you are meant to become. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "Whatever happens to you was prepared for you from all eternity." When life tests you, trust that the test itself is tailored to your growth. The person who betrayed you teaches discernment. The failure that humiliated you builds humility. The loss that shattered you deepens compassion. Each event carries the wisdom of nature hidden inside it. Stillness means learning to trust that nothing happens without meaning, that even pain is a messenger of your becoming. The fourth lesson is presence over projection. Most suffering comes from the mind's obsession with time, reliving the past or fearing the future. The Stoics grounded themselves in the present, where real life happens. Marcus wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." The present moment, when observed without the filters of memory or expectation, is rarely unbearable. It's the stories you attach to it that make it painful. When your mind starts spinning, replaying what was said, predicting what might happen, return to now. Notice the air moving through your lungs, the texture of the floor beneath your feet, the pulse of life moving silently through you. Stillness lives in this awareness. No matter what happens outside, there is always a point of calm available inside, if you are willing to look for it. The fifth lesson is detachment from outcome. The Stoics practiced apatheia, not apathy, but the serene acceptance of whatever comes. You plant your seeds with care, but you do not control the weather. You act with virtue, but you do not demand reward. You love fully, but you do not expect permanence. Detachment does not mean indifference. It means freedom. When you stop depending on external results for inner peace, you become unshakable. Think of an archer as Epictetus did. The archer controls their aim, their focus, their form. But once the arrow leaves the bow, the wind takes over. The wise archer accepts the result with equanimity because they did what was theirs to do. That's the Stoic way, to act with excellence and then let go. The sixth lesson is simplicity of life and thought. Chaos thrives in complexity. The Stoic simplifies. They focus on essentials: food, shelter, virtue, meaning. They do not chase luxury or approval because these things create dependence. Marcus Aurelius lived as emperor, but slept on a simple bed and wore humble robes. He reminded himself that true strength is not in having more, but in needing less. Simplify your desires, and the noise of life begins to fade. You don't need to own everything, win every argument, or be loved by everyone. You just need to act with integrity, speak with honesty, and move with purpose. The quieter your desires, the clearer your peace. The seventh lesson is service over self-absorption. When life feels unbearable, the mind turns inward, circling pain like a cage. The Stoic breaks this cycle by turning outward, by serving something greater than themselves. Marcus found solace not in indulgence, but in duty, to his people, his family, his philosophy. Service pulls you out of self-pity and reconnects you to meaning. It reminds you that even in pain, you can contribute to the harmony of the world. Do one kind act. Help someone who cannot repay you. Speak gently to a stranger. These small acts are not trivial. They align your spirit with virtue, and virtue is the foundation of peace. The eighth lesson is reflection and self-dialogue. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Meditations not for others, but for himself," a nightly conversation with his own soul. He asked himself questions like, was I honest today? Was I kind? Did I let anger control me? This self-examination is a sacred ritual of growth. It prevents chaos from becoming corruption. It keeps your soul polished, your conscience clear, your purpose intact. When you write, speak to yourself as you would to a friend you're helping heal. Let your words guide you back to reason. In time, your inner voice becomes your teacher, your counselor, your calm. The ninth lesson is resilience through meaning. Nietzsche, who drew deeply from Stoic thought, said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." The Stoics lived by that truth long before he wrote it. When pain feels unbearable, give it meaning. Tell yourself, this is strengthening me. This is my test. This is my training. Pain without meaning destroys. Pain with purpose transforms. Every difficulty becomes sacred when you frame it as preparation for wisdom. The 10th and final lesson is union with nature and acceptance of mortality. The Stoics constantly reminded themselves that everything is borrowed. Every relationship, possession, and even breath. Marcus wrote, "You could leave life right now." Let that determine what you do and say and think. Far from morbid, this reminder liberated him. It made him cherish each moment, forgive quickly, love purely, and let go easily. When you make peace with impermanence, fear disappears. You stop clinging, and in that release, you find serenity. To remain unshaken when life tests you, you must become like the ocean, deep enough that no storm can disturb your depths. The waves on the surface may rise, but below there is silence. That silence is your awareness, the part of you untouched by circumstance. Practice returning to it daily through reflection, meditation, and mindful living. The Stoic way is not about suppressing life's chaos. It's about outgrowing it. It's about cultivating such clarity and calm that you become the still point in a spinning world. Marcus Aurelius said, "The tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say or think or do. Only what you do, that is freedom. To stand unmoved not because life is easy, but because your roots are deep. In time you'll discover something profound, that stillness is not just a practice, it's your nature. Beneath the noise of thought and the tides of emotion, you are already calm. You've simply forgotten. The Stoic path is the journey of remembering, returning to the center of your being where peace has always lived. So when life tests you again, and it will, stand tall. Breathe deeply. Watch the storm pass through without letting it carry you away. Trust in the order of things. Act with virtue. Accept what comes. Let go of what leaves. And when the world looks at you and wonders how you remain so calm while everything burns, you will know the answer. Because you have found the strength of stillness, the unshakable peace that no chaos can ever destroy. And so, after all the pain, the silence, the rebuilding and the stillness, you arrive at the truth that Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca spent their lives trying to express. Peace was never something to be found in the world. It was something to be uncovered within yourself. Everything you've endured, every heartbreak, every loss, every storm, was not a punishment, but a purification. Life was not trying to destroy you. It was trying to strip away everything that kept you from seeing your own strength. The people who left taught you how to stand alone. The chaos you faced taught you how to stay centered. The silence taught you how to hear the voice of your soul again. The Stoic does not emerge from pain untouched. They emerge transformed. They do not return to who they were. They evolve into who they were meant to be. You are not weaker for having suffered. You are wiser for having survived. You have learned that calm is not the absence of struggle, but the mastery of it. You have discovered that the mind, when disciplined, becomes a fortress no storm can conquer. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The universe is change, life is opinion." When you learn to see change as natural and your opinion as optional, peace follows. You no longer beg the world to stay the same. You no longer resist what leaves or chase what fades. You walk through life light-footed, open-hearted, ready for whatever comes, because you trust that everything serves your becoming. Now when love departs, you won't collapse. You'll bless it for the chapter it gave you. When failure arrives, you won't despair. You'll see it as refinement. When loss visits, you won't see emptiness. You'll see sacred space, the room within which something higher can grow. You've learned what the Stoics knew, that true strength is quiet and true peace is earned. It is not handed to you by fortune. It is forged in the fire of self-mastery. The one who controls their inner world can walk through any outer one with grace. So as you stand here at the end of the storm, remember, you are not broken, you are cleansed. You are not empty, you are open, you are not lost. You are simply returning home to yourself. Be still and you will feel it, the quiet pulse of strength beneath your chest, the same strength that carried Marcus Aurelius through war, that carried Epictetus through slavery, that carries every soul who dares to face life without fear. This is the heart of Stoicism, to meet whatever comes with dignity, to let go with grace, to act with virtue, and to rest in peace no matter what the world takes away. Because once you've mastered the art of stillness, once you've learned to stand calm in the face of chaos, you carry within you something no one can ever destroy, an unbreakable soul.